Everyone, welcome to my channel, Bob's Garage. Today we're going to be working on the spring maintenance. This video we're going to be working on the timing of the 1951 Harley Panhead. So I'm going to take you through the setup, checks. Everything was working fine this spring, but it did seem like the ignition wasn't as far advanced. And sometimes like every now and then I get a bit of a backfire when I'm kickstarting. Wasn't getting that, as if the timing was backed off for when you start it. So I'm going to check it anyways, but no misfires, nothing that, but same thing every year, just check the points, check the gap, see what's happening. Was getting a little bit of irregular or surging, but I think that's more of a carburation issue. So anyways, sit back and enjoy, and I'll show you some of the things and show you how I set up the timing on this 1951 Harley Panhead. So the early Harley ignition systems are really straightforward. Right here you've got a circuit breaker, sometimes called a distributor, but because there's really no multiple wire connections or high tension wires for the spark plugs to two cylinders, it really doesn't perform a distributor function. It's really just nothing more than an actual circuit breaker or a switch that is picking up engine motion and opening and closing the contact to fire the coils. So the way they're able to do that is because this is called a wasted spark system. So it sends spark to both cylinders at the same time. And one's on the compression stroke, of course, and then the other is on the exhaust stroke and vice versa. So it's a really straightforward system. Underneath here, all you have is the circuit breaker, or the points and capacitor. Right now I've set it onto the top dead center, and all you can see here is a cam with two lobes, and you can see the mark right here that on the edge of it, that's for the number one cylinder right here. So you set that up. Now what you do is you turn the motor around till you're on the back cam, which is a much wider one, and you set the points up to 20 thousandths of an inch. And then that begins the first phase, the first step of the setting the timing. The second step, now that'll throw off, because that's what drives the points open and close, is riding on this cam, and that opens the points. When the points open, that triggers the spark. So it remains closed, builds up power through the capacitor or through the coil, and the capacitor sort of cleans up the voltage, and then opens, and then you get your spark. So when you get that set, and I've already gone through and took a look, these are actually fairly new points. I'm going to pop them off, got things a little bit loose here already. But when I took them apart, there we go, they were already pretty clean. So typically you run a file through them and clean them up a little bit. Actually, for this one, there's no pitting yet at all, so I'm going to probably leave that as it is. There you go. Just a teeny little bit there on that set. And so you can see a better view of the cam lobe itself. And how you adjust those is this screw here. So you can put this down a bit. This screw here holds the one side of the point sets down, and this screw here is an eccentric. So you loosen it off just a little bit, and you turn this cam until you get your 20 thousandths inch clearance. So like I said, I've already done that. Put these back now. On there. Before I finish this all off, I'm going to put a little bit of grease on the cam lobe and set up and tighten things down. Now to set the actual timing, that's a little bit trickier now. So to set the timing, you remove this cover, and when I checked this earlier, I found this was loose. So a couple 100 miles more and I probably would have lost that, and probably would have lost oil at the crankcase. And then right inside there, you can see there's the timing mark, that little vertical notch in the crankshaft. One thing I learned is that I used to center that mark when I set the timing, found it's actually supposed to be just to the right side. So that's a bit early. It rotates forward. So I learned that. So now that the point gap is set, and I didn't show you the details of that because it's a fiddly little thing. You have to make teeny little adjustments, check, and go back and forth, and it'd just be boring. But now that's done, and the motor's on top dead center. Now you go and you set the timing. So you can't do the points afterwards, because adjusting the points will change the timing as well. So that's why points done first. Now the way these Harleys do, and by the way, this is a Panhead. Sorry, this is a knucklehead distributor. Tell by this post here, the Panheads just had a bolt that came out that went to the advance, and Panheads had this. I mean, the knuckleheads had this vertical post. So this one again doesn't have the handlebar timing controls yet. I've got the bars, just haven't put them on. So it came with this stop. So up against the stop is top dead center. And what you do is this screw right here loosens off this post relative to the distributor. So what you do is you rotate the distributor around until you get with it at top dead center at the firing point right here. You rotate the distributor until the points just open. So how I do that is I remove the condenser so it doesn't create a path, electrical path, and I set this closed, and then I turn, or set this to the stop, and then I turn the distributor until the points just open. Well, my eyes aren't good enough to see it just open, so what I do is I hook up a meter. I'm going to try to set this up and show you how I do it. So what that looks like is, let's see if I can get my hand around here. I've got it all loosened off. You can see how this, oh, I guess you can't see. So what I do is, you can see this stop rotates relative to the distributor, and that's how you set the stop. You turn it to the points just open. Have to loosen that a bit more, and then you tighten everything down. Now, like I said, I can't see it, so what I do is I set up a set of a voltmeter to record when there's an open circuit. So I'll show you that. So I got my meter set up here. Hopefully you can see that. I turn on the ignition. See if I can reach your hand around here. Now the points are closed, that's why it's not showing any voltage. Now what I'll do is I'll rotate this a bit further. Put in the right scale. See, we got 6 volts. If I back it just a little, because the points are open now. If I back it up just a little, again, this is a little bit hard with trying not to get in the way of the camera. Back it up just a little, and should see that go to 0 there, right there. So that's when the you can see there, see, back and forth, that little amount. That's the difference between open and closed, right there. So now I have to move this post to that stop so everything's set still. I'm going to try that. Like I said, I'm going to have to repeat this a few times to get it just right. Slide that over. See how close I got it that time. So right now, see, I still got 6 volts. So I want just a tad more. and looks like it got it. Oh, not quite. Now what I'm doing is I'm forcing it against the post. Oh, that was too much. Yep, that was too much. So I'm open now, and now I'm closed. Doesn't take much, so I'll be fiddling with this for a while till I get it just right. Again, there, perfect. Just where I want it. Okay, so now I'll tighten everything up, and I'll double check it again, make sure everything's okay. So that's this little screw right here will hold that setting, keep the post from moving relative to the circuit breaker. There, that's snugged down. Now one more check. Hopefully we're pretty close. Yeah, so I lost a little bit there. Oh, there we go. That's perfect. That little bit there, and now it's open. So that's just perfect. Okay, so I'm going to make sure everything's snugged down, put the condenser wire back on the points, and let's see how that works. The inspection plug back in, and got the wires all taken back up here. I'll double check, so now I'm not sure anymore. Yep, got that all tightened up, and set the points adjusted. Now let's see if we can start it up, see if it'll start. So again, I set this a little bit retarded. I'm going to set the camera for you can see. So I retarded the timing. I've got the choke on. I'm going to turn on the pet pot for the gas. Now for Harleys, you give it a couple, so it's dead cold, you give it a couple priming kicks. Put the choke on, open a bit, and then you turn on the ignition, take the choke off, see if it fires. Well, it's a little bit more advanced now, that's for sure. Try that again. So it sounds like it's good. You can definitely tell it's a bit more advanced. It's always been pretty easy to kick. It hasn't been backfiring, so I suspected that the timing might be a little bit retarded, and it was running a little bit hotter as well. I was getting a little bit of surging. That wouldn't typically be ignition. It's probably in the carburation, which I'm going to take a look at as well. But that's all for the timing. Next thing I'll be doing in the next video will be setting up the valves, the valve clearance. Again, this is the hydraulic tappets have been removed. This is a solid push rod. Again, that's pretty straightforward, but we'll go through that in the next video as well. So I hope you enjoyed this. Like I said, there's lots of videos out there. Showed you a couple of things that I've done wrong in the past. Certainly I learned this time that I got the timing a bit too retarded as well. Probably probably a little bit safer that way, but I didn't like the way it was seemed to be getting a little bit warm this year as well. Anyways, thanks very much, and look out for the next video when I start setting up the valve clearance. Just for comparisons, I thought I'd show you the ignition on my other Panhead engine. This one's a 1951. It's a numbers matching, so very original. A bit of chroming and polishing of aluminum, but other than that, and an S&S carburetor. Other than that, very original. So there is the distributor for it, and it's got the controls for the throttle advance. So this will eventually be going in the other frame, but inside it's exactly the same. You can see the point setup, exactly the same. And see if I can turn this a little bit for to get a bit more light in there. But anyways, pretty much everything there. There's the post I was telling you about. I'm going to turn this a little bit. Oh, it's tight. So let's take this off. This is the mechanism for the timing advance. So again, the Harleys were a mechanical timing, just like the old Model Ts and whatnot. Just retard the timing for startup, and then you advance it when it's going. So that's the other design. So this is the correct Panhead distributor. You can see the post coming on the side there, and this is the mechanism. This is the mechanism that would connect the cable on the handlebars down to the distributor to advance and retard. So this motor and that and all these parts will be going on in that frame once I find out a way to, once I find a use for the other motor. I figured while I was showing you everything, I'd show you the handlebars. These are the 1949 handlebars. This is a 1 year only. They later on, 50 and later, they had a reinforcement in this area, and so I bought these on eBay, and there's cracks radially out from the four corners. They were jacked up really bad. They were twisted, so I straightened them up, welded the cracks back. And this weld's not so good, but the other ones turned out pretty well. Got them done. This is the outside of the internal slides. Got some cleaning to do there yet, but what there is a little screw like assembly in there, and then that goes inside here, and that's connected to the cable. You can see these are all the old pieces. Look like this had caught fire or something. They all slide in there. Turn the twist the throttle, and one side is a throttle. That side is upside down, and the other side is for the timing. So all that would be done on the handlebar, as opposed to the way I'm doing it now without the handlebars, just with a little stop. I thought I'd show you. This has got to get out for chroming. I'll make a future video of that and clean all these parts up and put them back together for you. Just thought you might be interested.